Shall we move on to our main review?
Oh God!
Talking about nonsense. But first, I kind of we're back to the letting our listeners decide what we're going to be reviewing. So we picked 2014, and it was quite close between Kick and Happy New Year, but Happy New Year took it. I don't know if I was almost thinking I'd rather watch Kick, to be honest. Especially when I was like in hour 2 of Happy New Year. But for next episode, I picked out 2009, which is, we have not done that year yet. So, which gives us Wanted by Salman, Main aur Mrs. Khanna, London Dreams, and then Shahrukh had Billu Barber, and then Amir had Three Idiots, which actually a few people have asked us to review already. So that's going to be the poll, but it might also be that next episode we just review Zero. So if it's not with Zero, it's going to be maybe after Zero. So just wanted to let people know. That's okay, right? Amrita, Sujoy, that's fine?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, good. So, but this week's pick is Happy New Year.
दुनिया में दो तरह के लोग होते हैं, winners and losers. लेकिन जिंदगी हर लूजर को वो एक मौका जरूर देती है जिसमें वो विनर बन सकता है. ये कहानी दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी चोरी की है. It was all about a handful of diamonds.
So you were live tweeting this a couple of days ago, right?
No, I gave up midway.
You gave up midway? I gave up midway to live tweeting. Yeah. But
I was probably half dead by the halftime of this movie. Like,
we should have done it in relays. Like, you do half an hour, I'll do the next.
Uske baad kya hua?
My dad always used to tell me these stories of back in the day. Like, at cinema ticket used to cost like one chavanni in Karachi, and they didn't have a chavanni. So they would, one would go watch half the movie, and then the other one would go watch the other half of the movie, and they would put it together and then tell each other the story. And they would still have money for some chane. So that's my dad's story about, I think he watched some Dev Anand movie or something like that back in the day. So I wish we had done this for Happy New Year. So Happy New Year, for those that don't know, is like, it came out in 2014. It was a pretty big hit. I made a lot of money. And it was one of those movies that made money before it even released. And it's basically a zany heist movie, I would say, but there's like also some sort of dance competition in the middle of it. And what's also interesting is it's kind of like coming back of Farah Khan and Shahrukh, who had kind of a fight between this release and Om Shanti Om, right? They're like chaddi buddies, they're like the bestest friends. But after Om Shanti Om, there was I think that something happened, and I'm sure Jay or Amrita might know a bit more, but they kind of came back together for Happy New Year, because in the middle she made Tismar Khan, didn't she? Or no, was that Shrish Kundar?
Yeah.
She did make that.
Yeah.
So she switched team for a moment, quite blatantly, because I remember she had Akshay and Salman as a special appearance, which at that time Shahrukh and Salman didn't get along either. So it was kind of very blatant what she was doing. And even in Happy New Year, we can see that Farah Khan really holds a grudge.
With Saroj Khan.
Yeah. So, it was kind of interesting that and it made a lot of money. So, and I am a huge Farah Khan fan. So I didn't like the movie when it initially came out, but I wanted to revisit it and thought, because I see a lot of Shahrukh fans still say to me that it's not such a bad movie. And so I wanted to revisit it, and I have to disagree. This movie is really bad. But there was a fight. Amrita, was the fight that happened between Shahrukh and Farah, was that due to Shrish Kundar only, or was there something else that had happened too?
I think it was a bunch of different things. I think the way I understand it, is that after Om Shanti Om, Farah kept trying to pitch different movies to Shahrukh. And I think, Tismar Khan was one of them. And Shahrukh was like, no, like, I don't want to do this. Or Shahrukh said yes, and then he just wouldn't give a date or something like that. He was basically being a weasel about it because Shahrukh can be quite weaselly in his personal life. And he just didn't want to disappoint her, I guess, but like also didn't want to do the movie. And then finally she realized he wasn't going to do those movies. And then at the same time, I think Shirish was also trying to pitch Shahrukh movies, and Shahrukh was like, haha, no. So, and I think Joker was originally pitched to Shahrukh or something. I don't know.
He dodged the bullet there for sure.
I know. Like both those movies, I'm just like, well done, Shahrukh. Like for once you listened to the script and like made like a wise choice. And then Shirish, of course, got drunk, and I think like things sort of deteriorated. There were like hurt feelings, blah blah blah. And Shirish got drunk and like got slapped by Shahrukh, and that was like this huge thing. And then finally, like, and then the movies came out and they didn't work. So it was just like everything, just one thing after the other. And then finally they were just like, nahi, like, तुम्हारी शादी हमारे घर से हुई थी, and like, मुझे जेल मत भेजो, and they became friends. And then they made Happy New Year.
What a movie.
So, Jay, man, how did you feel revisiting Happy New Year? Me making you revisit Happy New Year.
Yeah, I think that's more a more apt way of putting it. So basically, what happened was when you actually asked me to do this, I actually revisited my review for when I'd actually written it for Happy New Year, like in 2014. And at the time, obviously being naive, I actually must have enjoyed. So I enjoyed it at the time. And when I watched it last night, I was just saying that literally, like, I was just thinking, oh my God, it's just going on and on and on. And I think in my original review, I said Deepika was good. I still maintain I think Deepika was the best thing about the film. But if you obviously revisit it with different eyes, you just realize that there's so many things that are just in your face offensive to like so many, like, well, there's ethnic minorities, there's like, the whole gay jokes and like the whole deaf mute jokes, and you're just like, where is this going to end? I mean, I understand the whole taking a jibe at certain segments of audiences, but this was just going on and on and on. And I think, I liked the spectacle. I think I kind of liked, even now, I think if I kind of look at it on TV now, I'm like, actually, visually it's spectacular, but it just goes on, it was nonsense. Literally, well, it was just nonsense.
It was a nonsense-y night.
Yeah, it was nonsense. But Deepika was good. Like I think at the time her star was on the rise and she was at the peak of, she still is, but that's kind of when she'd kind of come into, and she was really natural, in that kind of role that she was playing. She was really natural. And I enjoyed it for her, but, as a film as a whole, I was just like, wow, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to like enjoy a performance when the actor is doing her best in this role of Mohini, but the writer hates Mohini. It's so badly written. It's so like her. I don't understand what she was even trying to do. Because like Charlie is like horrible to her, and she just takes it, and then she ends up still falling in love with him.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's a tough kind of sell in a way, right?
Absolutely. And I just think the whole. They had zero chemistry. I think I also like. I've seen Shahrukh and Deepika have chemistry in previous films, but in this film, it was just non-existent. I think Deepika had more chemistry with Sonu Sood and Abhishek rather than she did with Shahrukh, which was, I think, a major flaw on the script's part, really.
I just don't think Shahrukh ever found this movie to be funny. He felt like he was forced to be in this, and then Farah made him starve to get a six-pack, so he was even more pissed off at her. He's just not feeling it. It's just not funny to him, maybe. And it just really feels that he's doing a favor to Farah more than anything.
And I think there's only so much of, like I said, I like self-deprecating humor, and you can take the piss out of yourself. It's nice, but like the whole, when it becomes consistent throughout the film, so there's kind of this, there's a nod to like Devdas, and there's a nod to like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, or whatever it is, Shah Rukh's previous films, or even a nod to Farah Khan's previous films, where Deepika's kind of walking down the stairs, and they've kind of got that song from Om Shanti Om playing in the background. Like, I understand that sometimes it's nice to kind of have a nod to your films, or maybe take the piss out of your characters, but there's a line. I think about 3/4 of the way of the film, I was just thinking, okay, right, this is just getting dull now. I kind of understand the whole, you're a fan of the 80s, the whole nods to the films and stuff, but there's a line where it just gets exhausting, and you're like, right, fine, we get it, you're trying to be clever, but you've kind of done this to death, and it's just getting old.
Yeah. Sujoy, man, so this movie starts with like a Dubai drone intro, where we're kind of in a dance competition, and then Team Korea just finished, and it's like Shah Rukh is doing his gravelly Dawn voice about this team of losers. And then we kind of, the first then real shot is, an erect nipple mud fight. And so you wanted to talk to me about this, right? The erect nipple mud fight?
Well, that's been the motif of our podcast when we talk about male erect nipples from Bobby Deol to Shah Rukh Khan. So we've made good progress in terms of that.
Yeah. So Salman's are like ghar ke nipples, because we see them all the time. And then Shah Rukh's nipples are like Eid ka Chand nipple. Like sometimes we see them like once a year.
Farah made her starve for those nipples.
That's why, again, like Ramadan, 30 days fasting, then Eid ke nipples nikalte,
Yeah. But so that fight scene also is a throwback to Diwar and Mera Baap Chor Hai, the tattoo and the sharam that Charlie had to face because his dad was made into a chore, and now he's, after the life of Charan Grover, Jackie Shroff. Oh God, this movie has so much to go through in so many hours, and it just never ends.
Because the first 40 minutes is basically sexualized intros of everybody. Because it's not just Shah Rukh, it's also...
There's Sonu Sood, Nanga Panga.
But also Boman Irani.
Dili Dili Chaddi.
Dili Dili Chaddi पहन के jogging करता है.
That's basically Boman's mom slut-shaming her own son.
That was funny. The mom was funny, man. That really got to me.
Oh, that's Daisy Irani.
Is it? Okay. I didn't know that.
I do appreciate that bit about Farah. Farah, most people would put in, they're more famous. If it was Abhishek Bachchan, then maybe he'd put in, Amitabh Bachchan. Yeah. But, Farah, puts in her aunties, She has an eye and a ear for that kind of ridiculousness. And she knows how to make them do it. And you can see that it's probably some sort of in-joke that she's sort of translated on screen. Mm-hmm. So, it's funny. And
I do like the whole ridiculousness, weirdness, quirkiness that comes in Farah's cinema. And I guess this is the movie that it doesn't really, is able to put that correctly in the whole narrative, but bits and pieces of it comes alive on screen. Like when Boman's character Tammy sees the Shalimar safe, and he just goes into the love trance, and it becomes bubbles and pink lights, and he's making love to the safe. That's classic Farah Khan. I just love the sheer wildness of that.
And I think again, she, at least to credit where it's due, right? I know we didn't like the film, but she didn't kind of go the safe route where she had an actress opposite Abhishek, and she had an actress opposite Sonu Sood, and just kind of lengthened the whole thing. She just had that one actress. Whereas, I think if you'd watch someone else, I don't know, Sajid Khan or whoever, David Dhawan, they would have ensured that there's an actress opposite each of the actors just to kind of milk their egos or whatever the case may be. But she only just had that one actress and that one love angle and nothing else.
Yeah.
I think
Also felt
think-
bad that, then Junior Bachchan and Vivaan Shah didn't get a sexualized intro. Like, it just kind of like shows like, yeah. The Farah's like, yeah, no, ye sexy nahi hai.
Yeah.
Poor guys.
But having said that, like Junior Bachchan is really good in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MVP. Sorry,
I
Amrit,
think the problem with this movie is like, like it's what is called as like hat on a hat. There's like this is one thing, but then it's this other thing, and then it's this yet another thing. Like everything is like happening. There's too many things happening. So, like Shah Rukh's character is so focused on the fact that his father died and he needs revenge. So that should have been the primary motivation for this film. But then there's like that nationalism wala angle, and then there's this dance competition, and then there's the Mohini and like Mohini's love for Charlie that is never explained, and then there's like the relationship between Mohini and Abhishek's character. Like there's all these things that are happening in the middle of what should have been just a heist movie. By the time we got to the safe and like the password is Charlie, and I was just like, are you serious?
I think when you talk about Shah Rukh, I think, and again, I think it comes with the territory. I mean, I think I just want to make it very loud and clear, and I'm allowed to say this. Shah Rukh is not sexy. 8 packs or no 8 pack, he's not sexy at all. I know they tried to kind of do the whole, throw the angle in, but he is not sexy. I'm sorry. 8 packs or no 8 packs, it just didn't do it for me.
You didn't like the whole Street Fighter look that he's done? Like,
God,
he's like,
no. Sonu Sood, I can see the appeal, but like, I'm sorry, Shah Rukh is not sexy at all. At all.
I don't know about that, man. I think that's maybe the personal preference here. I think he looks hot, man. Like 8 packs up to the nipples. It's a look, man. It's a look.
But I think, like, in Manwa Lage, when Shah Rukh's like black shirt is burning off, right? He just looks so tired of all this. Like, I've not slept in 16 days. Yeah.
Like he just looks like, for the majority of this movie, like whenever they make him like take his shirt off, he just looks like he just wants a sandwich. Like he's just like, koi mujhe chicken do. Like that's his general air.
Yeah.
Like I feel bad for him. Like basically, like like they were just. But then I've seen him be sexy in like other things, so I don't know about like not sexy at all. Like like there's definitely things in which like I thought like, oh,
I do remember our podcast with
Anisha.
Amrita on when we talked about Shah Rukh being very dishy in race.
Put on like something white, and I'm just like, oh, all right, white linen, all right. But yeah, in this movie, he's just I think he was trying to show like a character who's like so driven by grief that he's just shut down to everything else. But then they keep making him do these other stupid like things that interfere with what he's trying to do with that character, and then Farah makes him take his shirt off, and he clearly doesn't want to do it. And he's like, fine, I'll do it. And it's just tragic.
It's funny because they also then do like a flashback sequence, because Anupam Kher has in the credits it's called an emotional appearance. And I was like, wait, how does the math work of this? Like, I was like, when is this happening? Because they answered the question actually like 50 or an hour later that this happened 8 years ago. But Shah Rukh is like saying like, oh, I had to fend for myself. So how old is Shah Rukh supposed to be in this movie? Like, he clearly
what was he doing? Like, he's not like a professional thief, right? Like he was doing.
He is Boston University ka topper.
Yeah, he's Boston University ka topper. Yeah.
But
like in what? Tail malice.
But he's a cage fighter. Like he earns his keeping a cage. Like I don't understand. Ye kya ho raha hai?
And there was an alternative opening scene to his intro where he was selling security services to elderly people, and they cut it off. And then they put this, Rambo 3 kind of fight scene in instead. But even that doesn't make sense. Like if he was a Boston ka topper, he's clearly in his 40s. This happened 8 years ago. So even if it's like he was 35, what was he doing in that 20 years between topping Boston University and getting into cage fights? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Because Boman Irani and Sonu Sood have not aged at all in the flashback. They're exactly the same age. They look the same. And then, but they make us feel like, because Anupam Kher died, Shahrukh was begging on the street or something like that. He was like a little orphan boy. It's really weird. And I think what Farah wants to do is she wants to do like a Manmohan Desai kind of thing where, it doesn't matter, just keep going. But because the movie isn't entertaining enough or doesn't even have enough jokes in it, you then end up asking these questions and you're like, wait a minute, how does that make sense? Like, what's happening exactly?
The whole investigation regarding the heist as well, Jackie Shroff is just sent off without any further investigation. Isne chori kiya, but where are the diamonds? Nobody knows. Yeah. And then Shahrukh and all the team are like shouting out loud ki heere yahan hai in the middle of the flight. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah. Can we talk a bit about the special appearances in the movie? Okay. First of all, Sajid Khan is in it. Which feels so bad now when you look at it. Because he's not, and they also make like a joke, Sajid bhai, aapki next picture kab shuru ho rahi hai? And they thought not anytime soon, man.
There's Malaika as well, who has aged.
Malaika's in it. Yeah. I did find the Sajid Khan joke funny where he hides behind a girl and he goes, "Sukri, save me."
Oh God!
I thought
he was just cringe. I think the minute I saw him, I forgot he was.
That's like the prophecy, right? In real life.
So it is exactly. It was very prophetic, and so we have Malaika. I did like that running joke of "call me" when they see Sonu Sood, like everybody call me. Find that was funny. So Anupam Kher was in the thing, and then Dino Morio.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was in it.
He goes away for 10 years and you can't even remember his name.
I think it's 20 years, man. Even 10 years ago he was doing anything.
It's actually his birthday today, so I think you should give him a shout out.
Happy birthday, Dino Morio.
You don't remember his name?
I don't. But happy birthday in any case if you're listening.
Tumhara naam kya hai, Dino?
Yeah.
Sarah Jane Dias, she was also in a very minor role in that movie.
Yeah, I don't know if that's billed as a special appearance, unfortunately. She's, I like her, man. She never really got to do much in Bollywood, right? Like, last time I saw her was on Beastmaster, getting, hounded by the American hosts.
Oh, with, what's his name?
Vidyut Jamal, yeah.
Vidyut Jamal.
Yeah. She was in that, and, again, even she is treated badly by Charlie because he uses her as an excuse to make Deepika jealous, Mohini jealous. Not great. And then there's the not Saroj Khan appearance, right? How that's just mean spirited though, right? So they get like a male overweight comedian, like he
and stuff him as well.
They would do, and then they make her it's pretty. I mean, it's straight Saroj Khan. He's doing Chane Ke Khet Mein, Devdas and stuff like that, and they bring him in to teach Shahrukh and the crew to do some dancing. And I don't know, maybe I could have found that funny 4 years ago, but now it just felt mean spirited to me. I don't know. How did you guys feel about it?
Same with the whole Vishal and Anurag Kashyap.
Those were the other two. Yeah.
I didn't actually even know it was Saroj Khan until you said it.
Oh, did you not?
No, I mean, I knew, obviously I saw the part, but I didn't know that's who the dig was at, because was there some spat between Farah Khan and Saroj Khan? Was there some issue there?
Amrita, is there an official spat, or is this just, because I know Saroj Khan can be a bit criticizing towards the new dancers and the new up-and-comers, that they don't have ada and they don't have nazakat and all that kind of stuff. So maybe something like that with Farah happened?
I feel like I'm forgetting quite a bit, but I think she was just mean to Farah, the way she was to everybody. And then also, when Farah was up and coming, Saroj was at the top of her game, and she was very she was an alcoholic at the time, and I think that was also the reason why she was like so mean to so many people at the time. And Farah famously got her start because she went, like, Saroj Khan went on a bender and didn't show up to work. And that's how she did. I think she did Pehla Nasha that way as well. And then she did Mehndi Laga Ke Rakhna that way as well, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it Mehndi Laga Ke Rakhna? I can't remember.
Yeah, she does say, like, there was a statement by Saroj Khan, I don't know why Farah Khan is after me. And Saroj Khan was neither amused nor flattered by the comic imitation.
No, she was like seriously pissed off. And I would be too if that was me. Like if somebody portrayed me on screen like that forever, like, and everybody knew it was me. Like, I feel like a few years ago, like when Om Shanti Om came out and Manoj Kumar got really angry because, or he said he got angry. Like that was basically Manoj Kumar trying to get a few headlines and some publicity out of it, right?
Yeah.
But the Saroj Khan thing, I feel like it was valid. Like, it was just really mean-spirited. And I was like, I remember watching it in the theater and being like, ooh, that's mean.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it was mean. And also the Anurag Kashyap, Vishal, I keep calling him Vishal Shekhar, Vishal Dadlani.
Vishal Dadlani, yeah.
Even that, the movie makes it so hard to like, and it is like there's like homophobic comments, there's just mean-spirited jokes, there's just like overt racism towards like Asians, and it almost feels like Sajid Khan jokes more than Farah Khan jokes. You know what I mean?
It probably is. It probably is because with Farah, it's like a real family effort.
Yeah.
And with Vishal in particular, I think it's just that. Like Vishal is friends with Farah in real life, I think, and they just have this. I have to believe it must be an in-joke because she keeps putting Vishal in these roles in her films, like Sheila Ki Jawani, like, you know, like the other really famous example.
We didn't even mention Abhishek consistently vomiting throughout the film. Like, I forgot that was in the film until I saw it last time. I was just like, what is this about? They actually, in that holy scene or whatever it is.
But then it comes into play, Jay. Like,
I know, but his intro scene, I was just like, do I have to see this? Do I have to actually sit through this?
It's foreshadowing of the vomit.
I mean, they could have thought of some other plot point than him barfing everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I shudder to think that what that might be.
What was that based on?
I have no idea.
Yeah. No, so it was so tough to like this movie, and I think also what the problem is that I have is that it just runs out of jokes. You know, like the way I always see it, you know, like if you have these three people together, you have Shrish Kundar, you have Farah, you have Sajid, right? And they probably all collaborate together on these movies, like the way I imagine it, right? Farah is that kind of visual flair and Bollywood references, like that safe cracking, right? And Boman Irani seeing it. That I always feel is something that Farah does. Sajid Khan, he seems to be the one with the mean-spirited jokes. This kind of like gay jokes or the Chinese jokes, you know, they all look the same. That seems to be like a very Sajid Khan kind of joke. And then Shrish Kundar is usually there with the puns, like, you know, like the sukri and all that kind of thing, and the filmy references maybe. So, but I think this one a lot of times veered way too much towards Sajid Khan jokes, and maybe it was because Sajid Khan movies weren't doing that well at that time.
And so he had so much more time to spend at Farah's set.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Because, like, I think it started really well for Sajid at the start. Like, people were really accepting his movies and, you know, Houseful did okay and all that kind of thing. But then it very quickly went terribly bad because he's a terrible human being, probably, right? I mean, this was just after Himmatwala and the same year as Hum Shakals. So just imagine.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a bit about Abhishek Bachchan, man.
Yeah, let's. And this has also been this was also a bad period for Abhishek.
When is it not, though?
Oh, poor guy,
Oh.
right?
it's bad when he's working. It's bad when he's not working. It's just bad all the time.
Like I think he is, to be very fair, I think he is a very underrated actor. I think his comic timing is probably right up there, like it's second. He's a great, like even in Dostana and all those films, he's one of those actors again who's good at taking the piss out of himself. So he was actually quite good in the film, apart from the vomiting notwithstanding. I think he was.
I just
good.
love his Nagin dance. I just fucking love his Nagin dance.
It was just like out there. He was just in the spirit. He was being sport about it and stuff. And there wasn't really any ego in his performance, which I quite liked. Whereas Shah Rukh's performance all come from a place of ego. Well, most of them do anyway.
Yeah, I think...
go
ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Asim.
I was just saying, I think he was the best part of the movie, Abhishek, to be honest. Because I think the first part of this movie is much better than the second part. And he has much more to do in the first part. And then also he also has that double role. And I do feel that he does that quite well. I do feel that, what's his name? Vicky Grove?
Yeah, Vicky Grove.
And the other guy, Nandu Bede, I do think that they're very separate kind of people. And even in terms of body language and stuff like that, I think probably Vicky Grove is truer to what Abhishek is in real life. There's some certain shades of maybe autobiography there. But I did like that thing. And I just like the back and forth he had with everybody, with Shahrukh and with Boman. He just feels like happy to be in this movie, And I think that joy is only perceptible in him and in Deepika. Deepika is having a really fun time in this, She's like fully on board. She's fully committing. And I think Junior is too. And I think they're kind of the only ones in this movie, unfortunately. So yeah, you were saying
yeah, I was saying when Shah Rukh shows the basement, his simulated environment of the Shalimar safe, right? And when he opens it, and Abhishek has this thing going through it throughout the entire movie, and he just says, "Haila Patal Bhairavi." I just cracked up.
That was good.
that was just iconic line. I need to make a gif of it, but it's amazing. And the whole the Matki Todo thing intro scene of Nandu is just like a throwback to possibly what I'm thinking is Amitabh Bachchan in Mach Gaya Shor and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, if we count, I was trying to count the references in this movie, but there's way too many. You just cannot. Yeah. There's just way too many in jokes and references and meta things going on. It's pretty crazy. Abhishek is pretty good. I think he was quite a thing in it. But it's always these throwaway lines that are funny. I like that when they do the flashback and then they come immediately out of it, Boman Irani is crying and he says, "Flashback mein senti karata."
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
I've got one major nitpick with this movie amongst all other. Farah Khan is a choreographer, right? And this is a movie about dance, and all the dances are shit in this movie. All of it. There is not even a single choreography. Manua Lage is pretty to look at, and the Kamli song, lovely song, whatever that is, the Deepika song in the bar. That's pretty nice to look at. But other than that, the World Dance Championship, everything is so shit. Even the people who they think are the world contenders, the Korean team, the choreography is so shit.
And I was watching some interviews of this because there are a few because it came out quite recently, 4 years ago. So there's quite a bit of content to be found. And it was funny because somebody was praising, I think it was our friend Harun Rashid actually. He was praising Lovely. Farah made it very clear that she did not do the choreography for Lovely, but it was her assistant Geeta Kapoor, I think. because she knew that this song is not Sheila Ki Jawani. And I just call that song not Sheila because it's just not Sheila. And it's trying to be Sheila, but it's not Sheila. And funnily enough, also when you watch Lovely, it just seems like it has a very strong Dhoom 3 vibe to it, weirdly enough, which actually I recently rewatched. The kind of set and the flying with the aerial kind of acrobatics Deepika does that Katrina does 100 times better in Malang. It's a shame because not only I feel that the choreography is bad, but I also feel the soundtrack is the worst one that Farah has ever had in any of her movies. There's only pretty much Manwa Lage, which is a good song, but even good in terms of it's a very standard, basic Bollywood romantic song. There's nothing special about it. And honestly, I think if you ask people what the name is of Lovely, they would not even know the name or the lyrics of Lovely. And if you compare that with Sheila, which is part of Tismar Khan, which didn't make that much money, Sheila is still an iconic song. It's one of the best those stage songs ever done. So from going from that and coming to this, it's just it's kind of like no return, there's the diminishing returns in a way. You just get so much less out of this movie. And, you would hope after Om Shanti Home and Main Hoon Na that coming together of Farah and Shahrukh would deliver more, and it just doesn't. It's terrible. What did you think of the soundtrack, Amrita?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It wasn't... I can't think of anything in this movie that I've actively listened to. I'll watch Lovely when it comes on, just because Deepika is so lovely. But it's very tired choreography.
Yeah.
It's not... there's nothing new or oh, wow, she did that. Nothing like that. It's just...
I think the focus was more on the spectacle, right? I think it was more, rather than the actual choreography, it was more just how big can we stage this?
Yeah, but even the spectacle was kind of tired. I think maybe the song at the climax, the big nationalistic piece.
India Wale at the end there.
Yeah, so I think that was supposed to be the big blowout sequence, but it was just very... I don't know. I just thought it was just very tired.
That also says something about the whole idea of nationalism. Their dance for shit, and yet they end up winning. All the desis from Dubai just ended up voting for them.
Did they ever explain why the Koreans hated the Indian team so much?
No. Just because they do.
Because they have no soul. I think that's what the point Farah is trying to make, that the Koreans dance without soul and India dance with soul.
Yeah.
I think
they have no soul. They dance like robots. That's the...
Yeah.
I don't even understand. I don't know. I think it's just a function of where we are in 2018, where we are thinking of different markets and why you would have certain demographics in your movie. But I remember when it came out in 2014 or whatever, and I remember the Koreans came on, and I was like, are Indian movies opening in Korea? Why do we have so many Koreans in this film? I don't get it.
Yeah. And it's also a very confused kind of idea of what Asian people are, because there's a fight earlier with Sonu Sood, and they say, let's call Jaswinder. And Jaswinder ends up being kind of an Asian-looking dude who also is speaking Punjabi a little bit, but also has nunchucks. And then later on, he's fighting Koreans, and they're not doing Aikido or Taekwondo. They're really doing pretty much Kung Fu, martial arts. And then there's also on the background, there's everybody was Kung Fu fighting, which is not referencing Korean people. And then Shahrukh is wearing a pant. He's wearing tracksuit bottoms, which are Bruce Lee's from Enter the Dragon, I think. Which again has nothing to do with Korea. So it almost feels like they wanted to actually get Chinese people, but they were scared to get Chinese people, and they just went settle for Korea instead.
Yeah,
like Korea se panga lenge chal jayega. It's fine.
I don't. Yeah, there's so many questions.
Yeah, but I did also like Deepika's 7-minute speech the one inspired from Chak De.
Chak De.
I did like that.
She's just so awkward sometimes, though. Like, like there are times when I still remember that, she's still struggling with the language a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, she's done a really good job of like training herself to speak properly in Hindi on screen, but there are times when you can still see the shaky foundations come out a little bit. And I was just imagining what that speech would have been like with somebody, I don't know, like if Alia had done it or something, it would have been like so much different. But, well, you do the best you can.
Sorry about that.
I mean, it's true.
इतना पैसा में इतना ही मिलेगा.
Which is funny because this movie literally cost like the earth, and it's like, कहाँ?
किधर गया? सब दुबई के होटल में गया.
सब बाहर जाता है like a southern deal. Yeah. What else?
We are all so tired of this movie already.
Yeah, I think we're kind of tired. I think we're done on that. Like, any final thoughts on Happy New Year? It's available on Netflix. I'll say it looks good. Like, visually, the way it's shot, and like you can see that it cost a lot. But honestly, like, I'm really trying to figure out who would like this movie, and I just can't. I can't figure out even Shahrukh fans that still like this movie or had a fun time then. Yeah.
You know what I wish? I wish like somebody would like cut up this movie into like all the little skits that worked and like redo it. Or like even if Farah herself like decides to do like a director's cut where she just like gets rid of all the secondary plot lines and then she just sort of like focuses on like what works, whatever that might be. Like maybe she has a better eye and she can tell like, oh, like this is how it is supposed to be.
I think
like,
there's at least 40 minutes that can be cut out of this movie.
Oh, there's more. Like, do you remember like Tobey Maguire recutting Lord of the Rings into like one movie?
Yeah.
Like, do something like that.
Yeah.
But instead of like 3 movies, you have like one movie that went on for 4 hours.
Yeah. Jay, man, what are your final thoughts on revisiting Happy New Year?
It was tough. I think, does that sum it up nicely? I think, like I said, I enjoyed Deepika. I think I was a big fan of her at the time. But I think what I struggled with is, obviously after a few years, 4 years is a long time. I think the whole spoon feeding, I think it really takes its audience for granted. So, I mean, like it takes its audience for dimwits because you have to spoon feed every element of the heist, which is why it was probably as long as it was. Do you know what I mean? I think there was a few things which we didn't need to know, like how certain things were hacked into and, all of this very Mission Impossible-esque kind of thing that they kind of went down. But I think there's a lot of taking its audience for like dimwits and kind of spoon feeding every small element of the heist and focusing on very little else. And I think we could have done less heist and maybe even more romance, maybe more Deepika. Like Deepika doesn't come into the hour for, I went into the film at least for an hour, right?
Yeah.
And I think that all those intros and all those ridiculous, toilet jokes and stuff. And I think some of them were funny, like you said, but there is too much of a good thing. And I think this was kind of a classic example of a film just overdoing the excesses and focusing very little on script and quality.
Yeah. So, Youngman, final thoughts on Happy New Year? Were you happy revisiting it?
No, not at all. I actually remember enjoying it probably because it was just one of those Fridays when I really wanted to just relax and let the masala movie take its course. And I think it did its job then, but revisiting it was such a slog to sit through for 3 whole hours. It has its like portions where you can actually like enjoy it, and you can see the flashes of the creative weird genius that Farah Khan is, but as a whole it just doesn't accomplish anything in her cinematic career at all.
Yeah, and she hasn't made a movie since, which is also kind of odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I think she's kind of a very different voice, and she has that good mix of entertainment and, being able to recuperate it and make good big budget movies. And, she's probably the most successful female director in Indian cinema at the moment, I would think. And yeah, I just hope she would stop judging talent shows and start making more movies. And yeah, even if it's not with Shahrukh, unfortunately, because he pretty much sleepwalked through this one, and he didn't feel like he wanted to be part of this one, unfortunately.
I guess keeping your brother in check and make sure he's not a predator is a full-time job.
Yeah. True. I didn't like revisiting Happy New Year. Funnily, actually, we did a podcast initially when it came out on 2014. So if people want to go back on the U podcast site, they can find it. What we thought about the movie 4 years ago. It was actually me with Anisha Javeri, who was on last week's episode, Rocks, if you haven't checked it out. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I think it does need an edit, like Amrita said, and I think at least 40 minutes can be cut off. It needed much more jokes. Second half almost has no jokes in it. It becomes this weird nationalistic thing, which doesn't make any sense to me.
There's even a cameo by Narendra Modi lookalike.
Yeah. Was he already in power in 2014?
No,
he wasn't, right? That's probably why
he was coming to power that year. But Modi was like a joke at that time. Like, nobody knew. A lot of us knew how bad it was going to get. But I guess Bollywood was
not the scale of how bad it was going to get, though.
Yeah, it almost felt like Donald Trumpian in that time when I was watching it. Like they didn't think that this could happen, and they thought they could still make jokes. And who's laughing now? That kind of thing. So yeah, it's a bad. I mean, this movie is not good, and I hope Farah Khan makes a new one quickly, because I don't even know if there's any announcement of something that she's working on. I just don't want this to be her last movie. So it made me sad. It made me sad, to be honest. But yeah, I guess that's it for us for this episode. Jay, man, it was awesome having you. Where can people find you online? Oh, I think Jay is munching chips.
No, I'm here. Yeah, you can find me on BollyBrit.com. I rant a lot, but I think Asim and Sujoy are still here a few years later, so I'm saying something right, I'm guessing.
Yes, you are. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can still find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ.
Sujoy?
I'm on Twitter at @93K.
Great. And I'm at Asim Bernie. You can drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. So next week we're going to be either doing 0, and after, if we don't combine it with 2009, and I'll put the poll up. Maybe I'll put the poll up so you can start voting for it already. But yeah, we'll be back again in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, guys.